We're back. Sorry about that, everybody. YouTube stream dropped out, but no worries. We've got a big show ahead. Kelly, Stewart, Teddy covers with me. Let's get straight into it. Kelly, we already spoke about the San Diego State Boise State game. You mentioned you will be taking San Diego State plus the 9. Now we're looking at another 9
7.
plus the 7. Texans are 9.5 in some spots, playing the Jaguars. Where are we going in this game?
Yeah, look, this is a Houston team that nobody wants any part of, right? Just like nobody wanted any part of the Cardinals last week. And I kind of don't blame them. But to start the season, I did my 32 NFL previews with our friends at the Superbook, as well as here on WagerTalk. And I said, hey, I think regression is coming for Jacksonville. Yes, that defense was awesome last year. Yes, Trevor Lawrence was improved. Sometimes things stay the same. The Jags' 2-week trip to London is on its way. Texans covered 10 of their last 15 against the division, and that is because of the hatred, right? You have these matchups, and divisional road underdogs so far this season have absolutely been crushing. Now, I understand Houston, nobody wants any part of, but C.J. Stroud didn't look bad last week. 384 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chiefs game last week, if everybody remembers, I was on the Jags. I took it when it hit 3.5. I thought, okay, this looks like a 3-point game. Doug Peterson, what did he do? He elected to kick field goals. You do not beat the Chiefs kicking field goals. You're not going to beat the Texans kicking field goals either. I think this is going to be a really popular survivor pick this week. Personally, I don't like to get involved in divisional matchups in those types of contests, so I will not be. But I will say this. Last year, Jags did get a nice win at Houston, but I don't think it's going to happen here. I think this is going to go down to the wire. Indianapolis, if you guys remember week 1, I played Jacksonville. And this is one of the things Marco likes to bring up on Bet On It. A plus B does not always equal C. Jacksonville beats Indianapolis. Indianapolis beats the crap out of Houston last week. So obviously, Jacksonville is going to roll this week, right? Not so fast. I do think that we see a better style of play from Houston, but I need them to step up here defensively. C.J. Stroud still has not thrown an interception. Let's hope that stays true this Sunday.
So I'm with you very much in not wanting to lay a price with the Jags this week. I don't like the spot. They put a lot into last week's game, and the fact they laid an egg against Kansas City, certainly offensively. The post-game quotes weren't bet-on quotes for this week. That said, Steve Merrill was on the show yesterday. He talked about breaking the season down into quartiles, and I thought that made a ton of sense for this better. In first quartile of the NFL season, my strategy is so simple. I want to bet on good teams. I want to bet against bad teams. And whatever number you have for the Houston Texans, they're either the 31st or the worst team in the NFL. No one even had the 30th. They're near the bottom of the league. They have injuries all over the offensive line. Stroud's already banged up. I'm seeing a ton of defensive injuries in the secondary now. Is this really a team we can put our money on with any confidence, even catching more than a touchdown?
Teddy, sometimes you have to bet these gross teams in the NFL. Would I agree with Steve? You don't want to be betting on bad teams. Well, would you say the Commanders were a bad team? Got a nice road win at the Broncos, very unexpectedly, especially being down late. Cardinals, a lot of people thought they'd be tanking this year, yet they put up a hell of a fight and got the cover against the Giants. Panthers got a cover on Monday night or a push, depending on when you bet that one. So there's some teams that I think have have been deemed bad teams, but that doesn't mean I'm not screaming for the outright win here with Jacksonville, with Houston again in Jacksonville, but that doesn't mean that they aren't going to put up some semblance of a fight. The Titans, a lot of people were down on, kind of showing some fight. There are some of these teams that are kind of bottom feeders, if you will. Yes, Houston is one of them. The Bears is another. Sometimes I got to get in the mud, though, Teddy. I got to play some of these teams that just make you feel absolutely disgusting to bet.
Kelly, Stewart joining us, everyone. And oh my God, do I go off on the Bears in the NFL presidential address? And I do every single week. It's not a new thing.
Can you give us a preview? Because I would like to join that. They ruined about 4 teasers for me the other day, and I had multiple opportunities. Justin Fields is Davis Mills, and I stand behind that comment.
Well, listen, Kelly, firstly, name the last Ohio State quarterback that had a career in the NFL of substance.
Hoyer.
Who?
Oh,
Brian
Brian
Hoyer.
Hoyer.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
gone for
backup
Of
extraordinaire.
someone since then.
Of substance. The answer is Joe Burrow, for the record.
Yeah, but he's about to be 0-3 to start the season.
Well,
And Joe
he's
Burrow's
still going to have a
graduated from
career of
LSU.
substance. You go to Ohio State as a quarterback, and you're done. Justin Fields is a joke. The team is a joke. The coaching staff, the front office, there's no great defensemen. There's no great wide receivers or running back. The team is void of everything. And from a Chicago fan perspective, which I'm not, but I do feel for them, there's no light at the end of this tunnel. At least Houston has some light at the end of this tunnel. This Chicago team is a joke, a disaster. I think they lose to the Saskatchewan Roughriders on a neutral field.
Ooh.
Anyway.
Ooh.
No, Kel, my strategy is simple. Badmouth the Bears as much as possible, and then you get the comments go up after the show because
know what?
nobody. Yeah.
I retweeted my 32 of 32 NFL videos on the Bears when I said, take the 7.5 wins like I did. They have no chance of winning the NFC North. And I had Bears fans that were like, yep, you're a genius. Like, they're not even mad anymore, Prez. I think they've just succumbed to the fact that their team sucks so bad that they just quit. I'm going to be in Chicago next weekend, and I'm like, oh, let's go to the Bears-Broncos game. And you think I can get any of my family members to fork up $50 to go to Soldier Field? Nope. Nobody even cares.
Yeah, it's a joke. Well, at least they're known for their pizza, which is shitty as well. Kelly Stewart, what do you got to promote?
Oh, Prez, we got a busy day. I'm going to be up next with Andy Lang. Ralph Michaels doing some TNA and some prop bets. We've got bet on it. VR is going to be back with some gold.
Nice.
Las Vegas Chris is going to talk to me about how to stagger parlays. So this is going to be a new topic, as you know, each and every week on Bet On It. He's going to bring some different handicapping techniques for us. And you know what? Just for you, I'm going to make him give me a best bet on the show. Told him it is a non-negotiable, so we're going to get one of those from him. And then I've got Kelly and Murray after that. So really exciting, busy day. Busy day this week at WagerTalk. Andy Lang and I are doing a Ryder Cup video on Friday for next week. I've got Stack of Stats, The Hustle, every game on the board with Drew Martin. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Teddy, remind me not to ask her next Wednesday what she's got going on. Sheesh. That is impressive.
Somebody's got to work hard here, Prez. We can't all wake up at 10:30 a.m. and go play golf after one show.
10:32 a.m. So, and I did
that extra
4
2
shows.
minutes.
Yes, and I did 4 shows yesterday. Kelly Stewart, everybody, thanks so much for joining us, Kel. Always a pleasure. Teddy, we do have a great promo for all new customers. Long story short, we sell an all-access pass to every handicapper for the day. It's $39. So if you want to buy all your plays on that particular day across all sports, etc., it is $39. For any person who has never purchased from WagerTalk before, and I mean never, ever, and they want to try it out, you go to the handicappers page that you want to buy. You look for that box right there. The one-day pass, $39. Use the promo code NEW5. That's NEW5. And you get that package for only $5. I have my first 5% play of the NFL season up, and it's $39. And it comes with an all-access pass. There's a perfect spot to use it. New 5. Same with Teddy. New 5. Any first-time client, you can only use it once. It is an incredible offer. Please take advantage of that. Theodore, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
So a couple things first. With the promo, new 5, that's for a one-day all-access. You can't buy a play with it. You can get the all-access pass. I know you mentioned that, but I just want to reiterate. So customer service doesn't get, hey, I tried to buy this play. You'll get the play, just get the one-day pass to take advantage of that offer for all first-time new WagerTalk clients. Thank you. Secondly, I screwed up. When I screw up, I got to say it on air. It's about being right. It wasn't Brian Hoyer. He was a Michigan State quarterback. It was Bobby Hoying is the guy I was thinking of from Ohio.
Oh, yeah. What a career he's had. Who the hell is that guy?
He was a backup in the league for a long time. Art Schlichter,
I said what Ohio State quarterback has had a career of substance. You come up with a name nobody has ever heard of.
Well, somebody's heard of it. I'm confident of it. You can ask him in the chat. In the meantime, let's talk about what we learned last night. And they're still talking about the field goal at the end of the Rams 49ers game. I have the actual quote. Sean McVay wasn't asked about the decision after the game, but on Monday, reporters asked him, and this is what he said. And this is true word salad. Lawrence, I'm going to ask you about what you think of this particular quote. Sean McVay, why did you kick the late field goal? Quote, what we were trying to do is we were trying to be able to get a completion to where we kicked the field goal beforehand with the opportunity to be able to, if we had hit that deep in-breaking route, it really would have worked out the way that we wanted to. We were going to try to kick a field goal once we got in a field goal position and then be able to kick an onside and try to give ourselves the real opportunity to win the game. But by the time it got down to it, I didn't anticipate that cut in that we hit Puka running that long. I just said, all right, just go ahead and kick the field goal. I felt like it was an opportunity to be able to not leave Matthew susceptible to an unnecessary heave to the end zone to get an opportunity on our field goal operation. The initial goal was to try to get a 2-for-1, where you end up getting into field goal range a little bit earlier with some of the play selections that we had, and ultimately be able to try to have an onside kick and then be able to go and compete or tie or win the game. Apparently, Artis, the VP of communication, told me that there's a lot of people in Vegas pissed off about that decision. I clearly was not aware of that stuff. That's some word salad.
Wow.
In the modern era, hang on, let me just say one thing, and I'm going to ask you your thought. But in the modern era, everyone wants a conspiracy. All right? They want, something is behind this. When you listen to that response from Sean McVay, which makes no sense, I mean, it makes a little bit of sense. It's what I said on Monday. Why I thought that happened was that maybe they should have done it a couple plays earlier and had a chance for a Hail Mary at the end. They didn't, if they recovered the onside. But that particular word salad stood out to me as saying, he doesn't know. There's 500 things going on in the game at once. All right, kick the field goal. It's not some diabolical plot to cover a point spread. Random things happen. Coaches make all kinds of moves that after the game you go, was that the right move to make during that span? McVay's word salad to me stands out in that regard. There's no conspiracy here. The guy kicked the field goal. What do you think, Lawrence?
I think he had money on the game, Teddy.
Yeah, clearly.
Dude, he was just flamoozled. And the interesting thing is, had he not have kicked the field goal, we would have all the people on the other side going, why didn't he kick the field goal? They were there. Maybe they would have had one extra second. I don't know, man.
There was second and 10 from the 30, dude. There wasn't like there was a surprise when he kicked the field goal.
He was definitely flustered, and you're right. He had no idea, and they ended up just kicking the field goal. And I don't buy these conspiracies, Teddy, especially in this day and age with social media and, who can keep a secret?
Well, that's the whole point of the conspiracy. You really think of, the game's scripted. I got a comment in one of the videos they did this week. Oh, the game is scripted. This game's scripted. Like, fine. Tell me what the script is before kickoff, and I'll bet it, No one can do that. They can only tell you scripted. How many people would need to be in on a scripted NFL game? I mean, the cameramen would have to be in, the sound guys, the producer, the editor, all the coaches, every player. Yeah. And nobody has come out with definitive proof. Sure. We'll go with that. Eric Pauly joining us, everyone, from the GoldSheet.com. Eric, nice to have you with us.
What's going on, guys? Good afternoon. Loving that discussion there. I like how you guys went into that field goal debate. It's been taking up too much airtime from everywhere, though. I'm with you guys. There's no conspiracies here.
Let's move on, brother. New England facing the Jets. I feel like there are going to be people, one's already mentioned, they're going to take New England in Survivor this week. I don't know, man. I got a bad feeling about New England this week. This to me is like, yeah, I'm going to lay off this game. I do like the under a lot, though, and I talk about it in the NFL presidential address. What are you doing in this game?
Yeah, so every week when writing the gold sheet, we do have a part of the gold sheet that's been around forever called the tech angles, where it really compiles a bunch of different trends into a game and then gives out some information. Obviously, we all know you should never be betting games solely on trends, so I take a deep dive, look at what things still are relevant and make sense, and kind of debunk what isn't. Now, New England being 10-0 straight up and 8-2 against the spread the last 10 times facing the New York Jets, and Bill Belichick being 4-0 against Zach Wilson in his career. While again, you could just say, "Oh, you look at these trends, you're making a bet." Like, no good. You should not be doing that. And while you shouldn't be doing that, I think that this is something that is actually a little bit more serious than that, and that Belichick's grip that he has on Wilson is much greater than just the 4-0 he is straight up against him. Now, when it came to that Dallas game for the Jets last week, the real question was how much are sharps going to downgrade the Jets from Rodgers to Wilson? Now, there was a lot of discourse because Rodgers wasn't great all that last year. He was 39 years old when I saw him play 4 snaps. Like, they didn't think that the gap could really be that big between the two. Even myself and the GoldSheet team, we took the 9 with the Jets in that same kind of vein. And quickly we saw that Zach Wilson is obviously, just as we've known prior, he's not good at football. On the New England front, they played 2 decent games against the Eagles and the Dolphins. Now, they obviously lost both those games. Those games were within reach of at least covering the spread, and a couple of just untimely turnovers by Mac Jones are really what killed the Patriots in that game. Now, again, you have a Jets team led with, of course, Rob Saleh and Zach Wilson, and the question just becomes, when it comes to less than a 3-point game or under that key number of 3, who do I trust more to win this football game? Bill Belichick versus Rob Saleh and Zach Wilson? I'm taking Bill Belichick in this instance. I know the Jets have a great defense. I know the Patriots' offensive line is a little bit banged up, and maybe they can get after Mac Jones and co. But the Patriots have played a higher level of competition this year and have played well. And yes, the Jets have played a high level of competition too, and they beat the Bills. But they've always played the Bills tight in divisionals games. And then when Zach Wilson was asked to participate in that Dallas game in the fourth quarter, he threw 3 picks. And of the 211 total yards the Jets had, 68 of them came in that one throw to Garrett Wilson. So I think the Patriots are being a little bit undervalued in the market still. And I will certainly still lay the 2.5 with them under that key number of 3.
So looking at the Patriots now, you can go back to last year, you can go back to last Thanksgiving. This team is now 2-7 straight up in their last 9 games. One of those wins came by 2 points, which wouldn't be enough to cover this point spread. The other win came at Arizona, who is at the very, very bottom of the NFL. This team isn't winning games. They're not winning games by margin. How can we possibly trust them to cover on the road here against the Jets team, who has faced 2 teams that are both better than the team they're going to face this week? Haven't they?
Yeah, no, they certainly have. It's just going to come over to, again, the trust of making the key turnover, right? Like, I anticipate that New England is going to be able to force Zach Wilson into making those critical mistakes. The Jets do everything they can to not let Zach Wilson have to participate in the football game until they're down in the 3rd or 4th quarter, and they have to try to throw the ball to make up the ground. I think the Patriots will be able to contain the Jets on the run, force Wilson into having to participate, and force Wilson into turnovers. Now, I totally understand where you're coming from. Winning on the road as a division favorite by a little bit of margin is tough, but that's why I'm not laying the 3. I would not like this at any number 3. Even if you're getting the 3 with the push there, no good. Has to be under the 3 points because that is the most common point differential in the NFL. It's a completely fair question to wonder, but if it's like trusting Bill Belichick versus Rob Saleh, and Zach Wilson, I think Belichick still has those tricks up his sleeve, and we know he loves toying with and beating the New York Jets.
Eric Pauly, GoldSheet.com, breaking it down. Jets and the Patriots. Let's talk one more in the NFL for Sunday. Go out to Seattle, a team that's been the bane of my existence this season. I had the Seahawks wrong twice so far. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing a split line now. There are -6s for Seattle. They're -5.5s at home. Total sitting in the 42 range against Carolina. Panthers coming off a push on Monday Night Football, in which I'm not convinced they gained a whole bunch of new bettors and supporters on their bandwagon. And yet Wise guys seem to like him a little bit. What are you going to do with Carolina at Seattle, late afternoon action on Sunday?
Yes, you can call this a little bit of a Kelly Stewart ugly dog kind of action here. I'm taking the points with the Carolina Panthers here. It looks ugly. It is ugly, but I feel like 6 points is too many. No upgrades were obviously necessary for the Panthers after their week 1 and 2 performances. I think probably downgrades were in order because we saw that Bryce Young clearly seems to be a little bit flustered, and the lack of weapons that Carolina really has definitely adds to that factor because, it's very hard for a rookie quarterback in the first place. Now with limited options makes it more difficult. But this Seattle defense is really bad. And this is a team that coming into this season, I was down on entering this year. And I think this is a good spot for Geno Smith, who has actually played better than I anticipated the first 2 weeks. Well, in that first half against the Rams, not in that second half, to kind of have a, come back to life regression kind of moment against this Panthers defense that has been really, really good. We saw what they did against the New Orleans Saints front, Atlanta Falcons front, which is one of the better fronts in all of football. Saints not so much. But if Seattle's really going to be missing their 2 bookend tackles again in this week, they're going to be facing a team that can apply a ton of pressure on Geno Smith and blow things up. On the flip side, I think Carolina will actually be able to establish the run, which will make Bryce Young's life a little bit easier in this game. Won't have to be relying too much on him himself. And just a situation where 6 points just seems to be a little bit too many. I think when this game opened, when it was 4.5 initially, before it kind of got bet up a little bit, I would have definitely looked towards Seattle. But now it's gotten up to this range where I think that Carolina keeps this game close. I think Geno Smith regresses. I think that this defense could end up forcing Geno Smith into some turnovers. He's been good on that front lately. Last year, he got very lucky with not turning the ball over. He led the league in turnover-worthy plays, even though he had a low interception rate. But I think this could be a week where that all comes full circle, and I'll take the ugly dog, the 0-2 Panthers on the road in a tough place on a short week. I'll take the 6 points in this situation.
Teddy covers. I think you are muted. Oh, that's okay.
My apologies.
So Teddy,
sorry, Eric. I'm as human as the next guy. I am, clearly. That being said, Seattle, the offense worked just fine last week in Detroit. They marched the ball up and down the field. With the 2 backup tackles, they scored 37 points, ran the ball effectively, threw the ball effectively. Lions have a pass rush. They didn't get there. Pete Carroll, after the game, quote, talking about the 2 backup tackles, Stone Forsythe and Jake Curran. Those 2 were the first guys I wanted to see after the game. He was thrilled with their performance. The backups play better than the starters. Isn't that something pro Seattle for this one? Or is it just, the knee-jerk, hey, offensive tackles are out, we're going to bet against this team? I tried that last week. Didn't work that well.
Yeah, so I'm going to just disagree with the fact that Detroit has a pass rush. Aiden Hutchinson has flashed here and there, but I disagree that their defensive line is notable. I think Carolina's is much, much better than Detroit, so that's going to be an issue there. And then also looking at what it's coming down to is also 7 of those points for Seattle came on the defense with a pick 6, and they forced Goff into another fumble. So I think more so that Carolina's actually going to be able to establish the run, and that Carolina is going to be able to put much more pressure on Geno Smith than Detroit was able to. I think that this is a more of a mismatch, not just solely because they are backups, but this is such a higher step in class in a defense than they've played so far, I think, genuinely. So that's what I think is going to be a difference maker. And I'm not calling the outright upset here. I'm just saying that this is going to be a scrappier game, and I'll take the 6 points. Would have loved it at 6.5 and even a 7-120. Never saw it get there. It's actually only come down because I guess the group must have hit it. But some of those 6s that are still out there, I think, are still definitely playable.
Eric, Pauly, outstanding stuff, man. Great work. You'll always be on the show during football season, Wednesdays, same spot. What do you have to promote?
Well, off a 4-2 week with the GoldSheet team, we had a rough week 1, bounced back really well. And for NFL and CFB combined since the start of 2022, GoldSheet is plus 61.31 units, a 61.4% winning percentage. And that equates to a 20.8% return on investment on WagerTalk.com. Like I've mentioned a million times, I work with the best team in the industry. I'm very excited to be that new member. And again, last week, great week. Momentum is moving forward. And we also have a 3-day pass, code GS3 at checkout. That drops that price for 3-day down to $55. Great to use this weekend for NFL, CFB, and we are still cooking with MLB. A lot of people forget about that this time of year, but we certainly do not. So exciting time in sports, and we're looking to keep the good times rolling.
Outstanding stuff. You can find Eric Pauly over at WagerTalk.com or thegoldsheet.com. Guys, we did have some technical issues at the top of the show. Our apologies. We are going to run this show till around 12:50, so we have 11 or so minutes left. We're going to move the BS question to tomorrow, so come back and check that out. But we have to have Teddy's big game breakdown and, of course, Dan Alexander after that. Please, guys, there's 312 of you watching live right at this very second. Only 64 of you took a second out of your day to hit that like button. We don't run commercials through the show. So as a team effort, can you please kindly hit that like button? Thank you. Teddy, it's your big game breakdown. Go.
Let's do it. Big game breakdown time. Let's talk some Friday night college football TV action. Wisconsin traveling to Purdue. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. The Badgers, mostly 6-point favorites. There are a couple of 5.5s out there. Total, anywhere really between 53 and 54. Let's call it 53.5. And this, in one sense, has been a very one-sided series. The Badgers 10-0 straight up, 7-3 against the spread the last 10 years against Purdue. They meet every year. That said, 3 of the last 4 meetings, the line was -3.5 or lower, so it's been competitive in that regard. And Purdue has covered 3 of the last 4 where the point spreads are -4 or higher, so it's been competitive in that regard. Last year, 35-24 Wisconsin. Don't be fooled by the final score. It was 35-10 before 2 garbage time Boilermakers scores. So Wisconsin able to control the flow pretty well last year. Purdue, they're 1-2 right now. No real step down in class games against weaklings. They're battle tested. They play Fresno, Virginia Tech, and Syracuse, but certainly nobody with an offensive line like that of the Badgers. They're supposed to have an explosive passing game with Hudson Card behind center. Now, Card, we're talking about a top 10 prospect out of high school, committed to Texas. That said, they only have 3 touchdown passes the first 3 games. And when you're looking for playmakers on the outside for the Boilermakers, I haven't been impressed. Deion Burke's the only wide receiver who's making plays downfield. He's got all 3 of their touchdown catches this season. The running game's not working for Purdue. 2 of their top 3 backs are averaging less than 4 yards per carry. And, of course, this is a Purdue team that's had one offensive-minded head coach after the next since the 80s. I mean, you go back Joe Tiller, even before that. Not this year. Ryan Walters coming in from the defensive side of the equation at both Illinois and Missouri. This is a lower-scoring team right here. And, of course, Purdue sent their quarterback to the NFL. Aiden O'Connell had a big preseason for the Raiders. Hard to replace that. The Badgers lost their first step-up game at Washington State. Devalued a result. That was all turnovers. They were -3 at the Palouse. They actually outgained the Cougs there. And, of course, Washington State, the Pac-12, pretty good. Purdue's no Washington State. Luke Fickell went 4-8 his first year at Cincinnati. But that was a rebuild. He won 9 or more each of his last 5 years. He's a bet-on coach, and Wisconsin ain't no rebuild. But I got my questions about Tanner Mordecai. I don't love the SMU transfer. Only got 2 touchdown passes in 3 games. I'm not seeing the playmakers on the outside either. They got to run the ball down Purdue's throat, which they probably could do, but Purdue's run defense might be a little better than expected. The under here is the bet that makes the most sense for this bettor. I am not expecting points in bunches. I'm not expecting these 2 offenses to march up and down the field. Look for Wisconsin and Purdue to stay under the total. You can find as high as 54.5 right now if you shop around. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Back to you, Mr. Prez. Thank you, Teddy. Guys, just to make mention, last night I put up my first 5% NFL play of the year. It is an ATS play. To give you perspective, since the beginning of last NFL season, so a full season, a full playoffs, and 2 full weeks, I am 22-9 in my ATS NFL bets. That's 71% win rate on my ATS bets. I've only had 3 5% ATS plays in the last 2 years. I'm 2-1 on them. And this Sunday is my 4th. So make sure to buy that. Use the promo code PREZ15. You get $15 off. I would prefer you grab my all-access pass for that day. So there'll be about 7-8 NFL plays altogether. PREZ15. Thank you. Daniel! Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Alexander. How are you, my friend?
This is great. I get to come out from behind the scenes and be live with you guys. I'm usually just hearing you bickering before and after the show. So getting to sit alongside you, great treat for me, guys. Great treat.
Yeah, and no wonder everyone loves you as a host. Listen to that deep resonance voice you got going, man.
So I learned it
Dan,
from watching you, Prez.
We got to ask you, because you're behind the scenes literally for every show. And I know a lot of our audience, you should be familiar with them. And Dan hosts other shows here on the WagerTalk TV channel. That said, WagerTalk Today, this I believe is your inaugural appearance today. You're always behind the scenes. Give us some stories, man. Give us some funny. I mean, tell the audience something funny that's happened behind the scenes that the Prez and I have never talked about.
Way to put him on the spot.
I mean,
well,
Teddy, let's be real. Let's be real, man. Think about what happens on the air. And you see the guy over my shoulder right here. This is my inspiration each and every day to get out of bed, is to look like the Prez. But Teddy, I mean, you guys go at it on air. And I will correct you on one thing. My inaugural edition on Wager Talk Today was actually when we had to recount you vomiting at the Rio. So I was on before, and it was to recount when you barfed on the bar the first time I met you in Prez. So that's a story that most people should know. That the first time I met Teddy, he tossed his cookies on the bar of the Rio.
So I did not. To make that perfectly clear, I did not toss my cookies on the bar. It was a very effective. I hit the cups. I threw the cups out. Nobody knew what was going on. It was for a vomiting experience. It was as well done as it could possibly be. Let's talk a couple games.
Wait. Dan. You got to ask Dan a question.
Okay,
Dan,
you go.
Dan, which one of us is your favorite host?
Come on, man. You really got it. I mean, Teddy's the more stylish of the pair, but Prez, I mean, as we've mentioned, Flex Tuesday, that bicep definition out of you, it's a dead heat. It's a pick 'em, but money's coming in on Prez early. I'm sorry, Teddy. I mean, look at those biceps.
I'm feeling what you're laying down, bro. Okay, let's get into it.
And now wait for my follow-up.
Yeah. Okay, Thursday night football, New York Giants playing San Fran. You got a prop bet for us. What is it? And Teddy's not going to ask you a follow-up on this prop bet. He's just going to go into the next game.
No, because there's a fascinating story about this. I will ask a follow-up.
Fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I deserve all the follow-ups after making Prez the early favorite there, but money is coming back in on Teddy. Yeah, this is a player prop for me that I really like. It was plus 105. It's now minus 105 for Jake Moody to go over 1.5 field goals on Thursday night football. Now, I'm not pulling off the rubber band. This isn't any mega goat whale play, but if you want to play on a stinky game, I think this is one that has some value. You think, oh, it's going to be a blowout. What do the 49ers need field goals for? It's already happened 3 times in both games that they played so far. Jake Moody is 3 for 3. Shanahan has also showed an affinity for just taking points when they're there. So if they do sputter a little bit, Jake Moody's shown that he has the leg to get it through the uprights. And both of the Giants' opponents, they come back from behind and they beat the Cardinals. The fact they needed to come from behind victory tells you all you need to know about that team. But both teams that they played, the Cowboys and the Cards, even the Cowboys in that blowout have gone over 2 field goals. I think Jake Moody does the same thing on a stinky Thursday night game. So give me the over 1.5 field goals.
So there was an article I read this morning talking, I think it was David Payne-Purnham over at ESPN, talking about the field goal prop for will there be a field goal in all the late games, and everyone bet it for like $5, $10, $20. It was paying 200 to 1, and it hit. And it was only the second time this century that all the late games had at least every team had at least 1 field goal. So it ended up being a multi-million-dollar payout for, I forget if it was FanDuel or DraftKings. They ended up paying out a bunch of folks on relatively small wagers at 200 to 1. But you talked about the Giants' failures last week against Arizona. I want to talk about their successes, all right? Because they played about the worst 6 quarters of football to open the season. And the second half of that game, Giants could have beaten anybody. They could have beaten San Fran. I mean, their ears were pinned back. They played good football on both sides of the ball and found a way to win a game with their, dug deep and found a way to win. Do we see more of that from the Giants this week? And does that, on the defense side of the football, does that worry you here about the field goal over prop?
If we see more of that out of the Giants on the defensive side of the ball, if anything, it makes me like more field goals, because the 49ers still should be able to move the ball with regularity against this Giants team, even if they have a strong effort defensively. It just means that maybe they tighten up in the red zone, and that gives us only more opportunities on Moody. I think the fact that, you've already seen this price drop off of plus money, other people who like betting these kicker props like I do clearly swooped in and said, hey, this is a value that has some numbers. So I would love it if the Giants made it a closer game. That just makes points more important, and we'll take them when we can get them. But regardless how this game script works out, I think Moody, he's shown they like kicking it with them early. As I said, 3 times, 3 for 3 in 2 straight games. Why not ride it until it's broken over the 1.5?
Dan Alexander. Dan, just for the record, when Teddy and I were your age, our hair was way longer than yours. Way longer.
Well, I had to cut it. When I started hosting stuff, Prez, I had to clean it up a little bit, man.
Mine was down to my waist, and Teddy had unbelievable hair. When your hair was long, it was spectacular. Anyway, NFL 6-point teaser. Yes, I'm implying that it's not spectacular anymore. What is it, Dan?
Hey, don't be talking down Teddy's hair. Some of the best in the biz right there. But yeah, I know we've already gone a couple long, so I'll be as short as I can breaking down 2 different games here. I like Baltimore, taking them down from the 7.5 to 1.5. I know that most people looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen are going to see 8s. I still like taking them down to the 2 since we get it under the field goal. Baltimore's passing attack finally showed some life against their division rival, the Bengals, last week. And if there's any time that you want to shore up what you're doing in the passing game, facing this Colts defense is a good team to do it against. 28th in yards per pass allowed, 24th in the completion rate for opponents, 29th in opponents' pass yards. I could belabor the point on how bad this team is at defending the pass. And then as far as the game goes, Richardson in concussion protocol for the Indianapolis Colts. Center Ryan Kelly in concussion protocol. So you hear me break this down, you say, Dan, why don't you just lay the 7.5, lay the 8? There could be an element of the Ravens maybe looking ahead to the divisional game that they have. Maybe a Marco D'Angelo sandwich spot from Bet on it. So I would rather just take that, larger point spread, get it under that 7, go through the 3 as well, keep it under that 3, and either at -2, -1.5. That's the first leg. Second for me, this is just a team that I think we're still not accepting how solid they are, and that's the Rams, taking them up from 2.5-point underdogs against the Cincinnati Bengals up to 8.5. Look, you heard Kelly say it earlier. Cincy is staring 0-3 in the face, and I think it's just time for us to accept that maybe the Rams are just better than the preseason expectations that they had. The talk of the game, Teddy was just talking about it, the field goal at the end of the game, the cover, the this, the that. How about the fact that they were in a position to cover against the 49ers team that's already been anointed as the best in the NFL? If you look at some shops, they're the Super Bowl favorite. So sometimes I'm just going to keep it simple, stupid. This Cincinnati team hasn't really found a semblance of what their identity is. The Rams have shown they're no pushover. Getting them up to 8.5 in a game that I think they're live to win outright, that's a no-brainer for me, and it does fit the that Wong, advantage teaser mold that people love talking about so much.
That's what I was just going to bring up. He's playing Wong, taking the short dogs up, taking the bigger favorites down. That is the mathematically positive expectation play to get involved in NFL teasers. Dan Alexander, what do you have to promote, my friend? Where can folks find you?
Outside of what we do here with WagerTalk, you can catch me on First Pitch every day. We just dropped the day game edition. Still some games that you can get in on that. You can catch me on WagerTalk Extra. And outside of what we do here with the great folks, we always tell you, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, because it is going to the moon, folks. So don't miss out. And you can also catch me on the Cash Considerations podcast alongside that guy coming on here wearing flat brims all the time. That's right, Dave Sharapan. You can catch me. It's a bi-weekly pod, so you can find that wherever you get your podcast. But guys, this was an absolute treat coming on with you guys, talking a little football. So thanks for having me.
Teddy?
Lawrence?
End it.
Lawrence?
My headphones are off. I stopped listening. I'm going golfing. Take us home, baby.
Again, before I let you guys go, real quick, take advantage. First-time clients, use the promo code NEW5 at checkout. Get any one-day pass. Normally priced as high as $39. Get it for $5. New 5 at checkout. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the games. Good luck tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same channel with another edition of WagerTalk Today. Cheers.